All right, here with Independence head football coach John H. Lilly. And John, today another big day for you guys. 5 more guys signing to play at the next level. You told me you had 13 over the last 3 years. This group this year, what does this mean to the program to have these guys, the Trey Bowers, Connor Bradford, Fisher Williams, on and on, these guys sign at the next level?
Well, I think it means a lot, and I think it proves consistency, and that's something that we're striving for now as we're trying to take the next step in going to AAA and trying to be consistent, and I think that's the biggest thing. And I think they're reflective in the way of, our motto, nobody, there's no amount of good a man can do if they don't care who gets the credit. So, this team kind of exemplifies that. D had to play like 3 different positions through the playoffs because of injuries, and Trey had to move from wide receiver to running back to quarterback, and I'm going down the list. Every one of them just did everything we asked them to do. Connor played on one leg in the whole playoffs because he couldn't hardly walk, and then him being a superstar at one school and then coming over here and accepting a role on this team, and that's hard to do, and he did it with flying colors. So it's just a great group of kids to coach.
Starting out with you got Trey Bowers, guys played for you for 4 years now. I think it was a 4-year starter for you somewhere along the way. He's going to WVU. Just talk about him and what his legacy here at school.
Well, we went to the playoffs for the first time in the history of school 4 years in a row, and he's been, and then we had 2 state championship appearances and 3 semis, and the common denominator for that is Trey. He's the only one that started all 4 years through that whole process. It may never happen again in the history of the school. We're going to fight like crazy to make it happen, but it's just a special bunch, and he's a special young man.
And you've got Fisher Williams, who was the lone guy back this year on a line people call a once-in-a-lifetime line, because quite frankly, that's what they were. He was the one guy back. Now he's getting his opportunity to go to the next level. You got to really be happy for a guy like that.
I'm super happy for him. He's the leader of the team. Trey and D, they're kind of introverts. They don't say a whole lot. But anything you need done, you go and get Fish to do it. I've also been honored to coach his brother, who went on and played 4 years at West Virginia Wesleyan. And what a great family, and God bless me with the opportunity to coach both of them. But we'll miss Fish. We're missing Fish right now because he was our vocal leader last year. So some people are going to have to assume that role this year.
He's not a huge guy, as college guy does, but way to work it, and his tenacity, his toughness, make him turn him into a player who can do something.
Well, I think at D2 he's your perfect size center. He's 6'1". He doesn't look it because some of the other guys are so big, but he's 6'1", 285. So he'll fit in well at center, and that's where he's going to play. He's your typical center. The one thing about Fish is he's smart. He's not only smart in the classroom, he's smart on the field. So he can make the line calls for us, and which he does a good job. He was coach on the field for us with that line this year. So I think he'll be very successful.
I want to hit back on Bowers real quick. What kind of opportunity, you got another guy there, Judah Price, who played for you last year. What kind of opportunities he'll get? It's hard to be a walk-on at that level, as you know. What about him will get him ultimately on the field?
Well, I think a lot of people in the public don't know that they changed that rule last year where you can only have 120 on the field at one time. And it used to be you could have 120 on the field, but you could still have 40 or 50 developmental players, which would practice on Monday nights and scrimmage and do that type of thing. So now when you only have 120 on the field at one time, you get into injury bug, and then you get into the portal, and you get into all that kind of stuff. Next thing you know, if you're just patient and you stick with it, you'll be on the field. Judah's doing really well up there, and he's put on like 25 pounds. I think Trey will probably put on 20 pounds as soon as he gets up there too. So, and both of them have one thing that you can't teach: speed. So, I think they'll be fine. If they'll just stick with it, they'll be fine. Micah
Brown's a guy who wasn't a starter for you until this year, really made the most of an opportunity to make himself an outstanding football player and a college football player.
Well, Mike is your example for any young man in the area that if you'll just stick with it and you'll work hard and you find your niche on the team. And then it took him a while, he found his niche on the team. We're going to nose guard, he's 6'3", 330, and he might not move you, but you're not moving him. And the better he got, the better that young linebacking core we had, because we had, in our back 3 linebackers, we had 2 sophomores. So we really needed him and Blankenship and those guys to anchor that line down, Greenway, to anchor that line down so those linebackers grew up. So he did a great job. I'm really proud of him because last year, his dad passed away during the middle of the season. I know his dad's real, up in heaven right now looking at him, very proud.
You've got a saying here, Cole Camp tough, and probably one of the tougher kids, and he proved it because of his injury. I'm talking about D. Hypes injured his knee in the state championship game. Fortunately, he got to play in most of that game. That was a good thing, that he was a part of that state championship game. But he's a guy who had to rehab and ended up, he might make a career because of the injury he got as a physical therapist.
Yeah.
But he was a tough, he kind of really, if anybody did exemplify that whole Camp tough, it was probably D. Hype, right?
It is, and not only did he tear his knee, he tore it every way you could possibly tear it, so it wasn't just like rehab, for one minor knee injury, but he never missed a day of practice. Even in the off season, he would have his rehab after we would practice, and even though he couldn't do much with us in the weight room, he was in there being a leader, and that's kind of how we do things here. But and then come out on the field this year and have to overcome that early in the year. He wasn't moving as well, and he was very frustrated there early. But as his knee loosened up and he got the scar tissue out, he started getting back to his old self. And we got
60 tackles. Right?
Yeah, he when we got down to the playoffs and when the games really counted, that's when he stepped up. And I'm real proud of this team, and maybe more so than the previous two, for making the state championship, because I don't think anybody would have thought we would have gone as deep as we did.
Not after a 2 and 3 start.
Right, so I'm real proud of them, and it's because of their leadership. Some teams fall apart when you go 2 and 3 and you got to battle back. And then they won 6 straight. So
you talked about Connor Bradford, not the easy thing to do. He had a goal of rushing for 2,000. When he came here, he knew he would be sharing time with Tyler Linksweiler, so that the goal changed for him, and he really became an integral part of what you were trying to do.
Well, it's really hard because when you're the man at another
that's
school,
when he was going to run to rush 2,000.
Yeah, and he knew that coming in, and he knew we had an established tailback. When he came here with Linksweiler. But what made it work was his personality and his team first mentality, and also Lynx too. They very unselfish. People probably won't believe it, but they subbed themselves in and out. If that one got tired, he went in. I didn't even say anything about it. And then when one got
very rare, isn't it?
It is, and I think that's what
especially,
made.
You're kind of everybody knows it's your program, so. But you had that much faith in those two to do that.
Yeah, whichever one of them in there, I didn't think we'd lose anything. So,
right.
Then Link separated his shoulder, and then we had to lean on Connor, and then Connor tore his ankle up, and then we had to lean on Link. So it's always better to have two than one. But I think what made it work is because his team first attitude. And there were some games where, he was injured and didn't get to play as much as he wanted to because, we would have to play man coverage with the spread teams, and he couldn't move, and that's frustrating. And but you know what? He got to play and win in some playoff games, which meant a lot to him. He got to play in the semifinals in a big game, and that meant a lot to him. And I'm very happy for him because I know how hard he's worked the last 3 years, going to the camps and going through the circuits and all that stuff. And he earned what he got.
How proud of you are you of these guys in days like this when you get to watch this?
Well, I'm real proud.
Job really.
Well, two things. One, God bless me with the opportunity to coach some of these guys. It's sometimes it's just been in the right place at the right time, and I was here in the right place at the right time with some great kids. And I can't say an ill word about any of them. They're all fun to coach. There's never been any confrontations or anything in the 4 years they're here. They'll do anything you ask them to do, and that's just so rare these days. So, we're very, very lucky to have them.
John, I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.